The stars of the Orion Arm were quiet that night. Humanity's fleets hung in the darkness above our home, the blue marble we call Earth, shining like silver shields in the void. The Great War was over, or so we were led to believe. Humanity, alongside dozens of alien races, had fought under the banner of the Galactic Council. Together we had bled and triumphed, defeating the brutal Zorath Empire, the most feared force in the galaxy. But the peace we earned was a fragile, fleeting thing. On the bridge of the flagship, the eclipsed dawn, Captain Elias Ward stood motionless. His face was a mask of calm, but his eyes held the weary sharpness of a soldier who had seen too many battles. The cosmos outside seemed serene, yet a cold knot of dread was tightening in his gut. "Why did the Council order all human fleets back to the Sol system?" he murmured, his voice barely a whisper. "This doesn't feel right." Commander Ria Tanaka, his trusted second-in-command, stared at the glowing message on her console. "They're calling it a reorganization. New protocols. All human ships are to be disarmed and await inspection." Her voice was laced with ice. "Inspection? After we just won their war? That's not a show of trust. That's a leash." Elias's frown deepened. "It's a cage." The silence on the command deck was heavy with unspoken fears. Everyone knew the truth. The Galactic Council had never been comfortable with humanity's meteoric rise. In just 2 short centuries, we'd gone from a single planet species to a formidable military power. Our allies saw us as useful, but dangerously ambitious. A voice cut through the tension. "Captain, incoming transmission. Galactic Council High Command." A hologram flickered to life, projecting the tall, silver-scaled figure of High Chancellor Vaylor. His voice was smooth as polished stone and just as cold. "Captain Ward, the Council has voted to suspend all human military operations indefinitely. You are to surrender your fleets for peacekeeping redistribution. Any resistance will be considered an act of rebellion." Elias kept his expression unreadable. "Rebellion?" he challenged. "We fought your wars. We shed our blood for your cause, and now you demand our ships?" "The Council appreciates your service," Vaylor replied, his words dripping with false sincerity. "But humanity's rapid expansion has caused instability. This action is in the best interest of galactic peace." Before Elias could utter another word, the hologram vanished. The bridge fell silent again, but only for a moment. Ria slammed her fist on the console. "They're afraid of us. This is a betrayal." As if on cue, the viewscreen lit up with new signatures, thousands of them. Council enforcement ships warping in from all directions. They hadn't just sent a message, they'd brought an armada. They were already here. Elias drew a slow, steadying breath, his gaze sweeping over his crew. "Signal all human fleets. Secure channels only. Tell them to hold positions and raise defensive shields. No one fires. Not yet." Minutes felt like hours. Then, the messages started flooding in. From Mars, from Titan, from our colonies on New Terra and dozens of other worlds. The Council's peacekeepers had arrived everywhere at once. And then the first true act of war. "Captain," the communications officer cried out, his voice cracking. "The Luna base is under attack. Council ships are firing on unarmed civilian transports." The bridge erupted. Reports poured in from every corner of human space. Colonies bombarded, cities burning, our people running for their lives. This wasn't a disarmament. It was an extermination. Elias's jaw clenched so hard a muscle twitched. "So it begins," he muttered. Ria turned to him, her eyes blazing. "Orders, Captain?" He stared at the holographic map, watching as the red dots representing human colonies began to flicker and die. His voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of destiny. "Send this message to every human commander. The waiting is over. We defend every world, every life, and if they want a war to end humanity, they will pay for every inch of ground in blood." Across the galaxy, a species awoke to betrayal. Soldiers, pilots, and civilians heard the call. Humanity betrayed. Defend yourselves. No surrender. The war we thought was over had just begun, but this time it wasn't for someone else's cause. It was for our pride. our revenge, our very right to exist. As Earth's night sky filled with the distant, silent flashes of battle, Captain Ward took one last look at the blue planet below. "They think they can cage us," he said, his voice a low growl. "They've forgotten who we are." He turned to Rhea, his eyes filled with a cold fire. "Prepare the fleet. If the Council wants to control humanity." He paused, letting the words hang in the air. "Then humanity will remind them why the galaxy once learned to fear us." Outside the Eclipse Dawn's mighty engines roared to life. One by one, the ships of the human fleet followed, their thrusters igniting like new stars in the night. The quiet heavens now burned with the light of rebellion. The galaxy had betrayed us, and humanity was about to answer. The galaxy burned in silence. Dozens of human colonies lay in ruins. The once proud worlds of Mars and Europa were now just shadows of smoke and ash. The Galactic Council called it containment. Humanity called it what it was: betrayal. From the edge of the Sol system, what was left of the human fleets regrouped. Around 50 warships, survivors of the Council's surprise attacks, gathered near Pluto's orbit, hidden in the darkness beyond the sun's reach. Captain Elias Ward stood before a massive holoscreen connecting hundreds of human officers. Every face was tired. Every heart burned with anger. 3 billion dead, Elias said, his voice quiet but echoing through the silence. They killed our people, bombed our cities, and called it peace. No one spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of engines and the crackle of broken comms. Commander Rhea Tanaka stepped forward, her eyes filled with fire. "They wanted to erase us," she said. "But they forgot what humans do best. We survive, we rebuild, and we strike back harder than anyone expects." Elias nodded. "Exactly. They think humanity will kneel. But tonight," his eyes turned cold, "we give the galaxy our answer." He turned to his communications officer. "Patch me through. I want every Council world to hear this." The officer hesitated. "Sir, the message will be broadcast across the entire network. Once you send it, there's no going back." Elias smiled grimly. "Good. That's the point." The signal connected. A bright light filled the command deck. Across thousands of worlds, the holoscreens of the Galactic Council flickered, and a human face appeared. "This is Captain Elias Ward of Earth's Defense Fleet," he began. 2 weeks ago, the Galactic Council called us allies. They called us heroes. Now, they call us rebels. They killed our families and burned our homes, all in the name of control." He leaned closer, his voice like steel. "You wanted obedience. Instead, you've awakened something else. On every Council planet, aliens stopped what they were doing. From the massive cities of the Valor Dominion to the frozen moons of Draenor, they watched the human broadcast in stunned silence." Elias continued. "Humanity has faced extinction before. We've fought monsters, storms, and our own fears. But every time we fell, we rose again, stronger. You thought betrayal would break us, but you've only united us." He raised his hand. "So hear our words, Council. This is not a plea. This is an ultimatum." The signal shook with interference, but his words remained terrifyingly clear. "You have 72 hours to withdraw all forces from human territory, release our captured citizens, end your occupation of our colonies, or humanity will bring war to your homeworlds." A murmur spread through the alien Council chambers. Many laughed nervously. Humanity had only a few ships left. What could they possibly do? But Elias wasn't done. He pressed a button on the console. A new image filled every screen. Footage of massive war factories hidden on Titan Io and the dark side of Mars. Human engineers were already building new warships, faster and deadlier than anything seen before. Then came something worse. A glimpse of the Leviathan project. A single ship larger than a city moved through the void. Its dark armor shimmered with blue plasma lines. It was a weapon humanity had never revealed, a secret project built in silence, in case the Alliance ever turned against them. Rhea's voice followed, sharp as a blade. We don't bluff. The message ended with 6 words that made the entire galaxy tremble. Humanity does not forgive. We return. Back on the flagship, the Eclipse Dawn, silence filled the command deck. Elias stood still, staring at the fading holoscreen. "Sir," Rhea said softly, "we've just declared war on the galaxy." Elias nodded. "No," he said. "They declared it first. We're just answering." Moments later, a flood of messages arrived. Thousands of human civilians from the outer colonies sent one message back to the fleet. "We stand with Earth." Old mining ships, cargo freighters, even private transports began moving toward Sol, carrying supplies and volunteers. Humanity wasn't broken. It was awakening. Far away, deep within the Council's Grand Hall, panic began to grow. High Chancellor Vaylor slammed his claws on the table. "Find their fleets, destroy their communication networks, crush them before they grow." Another counselor whispered, "But what if they already have more ships hidden?" Vaylor's voice cracked. "Impossible. They couldn't." A transmission broke through his words, a human voice again, calm and confident. "Tick-tock, Chancellor. The countdown has begun." The screen went dark. That night, in the cold space near Pluto, the Eclipse Dawn activated its engines. Human fleets began to move. Silent, coordinated, united. The galaxy thought they had destroyed humanity. But in truth, they had only forged it into something far more dangerous. The galaxy held its breath, convinced humanity was broken. The Galactic Council had dismissed Captain Elias Ward's ultimatum as a bluff, a final, desperate gasp from a scattered and defeated race. But the silence that followed wasn't fear. It was the calm before the storm. Beneath the frozen surface of Titan, secret hangars roared to life. Engines thundered, and workers in gray uniforms swarmed over ships the Council had never dreamed existed. This was the Shadow Fleet, forged in secret, a phantom force hidden from every alien spy. Commander Rhea Tanaka strode through the metallic corridors of the Titan base, sparks from welders lighting the darkness. The very walls trembled with a mix of raw power and righteous fury. "How many ships are ready?" she asked, her voice cutting through the noise. Chief Engineer Ronan, his face streaked with soot but his eyes burning bright, replied, 17 destroyers, 4 cruisers, and 1 Leviathan-class vessel at 80%. The galaxy thinks we're finished. Let's let them believe it just a little longer." Rhea nodded grimly. "Good. We'll hit them where they least expect it." Climbing aboard her command ship, the Vanguard's Edge, she sent a coded message to the flagship, Eclipse Dawn, lurking beyond Pluto. Phase 1 of resistance begins now. Far away at the galactic core, the Council convened. High Chancellor Vaylor shifted uneasily. 3 days, he hissed. No human transmissions. Perhaps they finally accepted their place. But a reptilian general growled, "Then why are our patrols vanishing? 12 ships gone near the Perseus Gate. No signals, no wreckage." A cold silence fell over the chamber. Something was moving in the dark. At that exact moment, the human shadow fleet emerged from behind an asteroid belt near the Perseus Gate, a vital supply artery for the Council. On the bridge of Eclipse Dawn, Elias Ward watched enemy transports glide peacefully through the massive portal. "Status?" he asked calmly. Rhea's voice crackled through the comms. "All wings in position, ready on your command." Elias gazed at the holodisplay where hundreds of unarmed freighters and their unsuspecting escorts were perfectly aligned. He spoke softly, his voice a low promise. "They took our people. They burned our worlds. Tonight we take something back." The order came like thunder. "Shadow Fleet, fire." From the void, human missiles streaked forward like avenging comets. Explosions bloomed in the silent darkness, shattering Council transports one after another. Within seconds, the colossal gate itself began to buckle, its energy core imploding, tearing space apart in a storm of brilliant, destructive light. "Target destroyed," Rhea reported, her voice trembling not with fear, but with awe. Elias closed his eyes. "Then let it be known. Humanity strikes from the shadows. News of the attack spread like wildfire. The humans were back, silent, precise, and lethal. On dozens of Council-controlled planets, mysterious attacks crippled infrastructure. Communication arrays exploded, supply lines vanished, and outposts went dark. Every attempt to trace the attackers led to ghost code, encrypted with human patterns no AI could decipher. The Council called it the Phantom War. Humanity called it justice. Aboard the Eclipse Dawn, Rhea watched the distant stars. How long before they find us? Elias smiled faintly. They won't. They're looking for armies, not ghosts. He turned to the viewport, the reflection of a distant Earth glowing in his eyes. This isn't revenge, Rhea. It's a message. What message? She asked. That humanity remembers, and when we finally come out of the shadows, he paused, his voice turning to ice. The Council will wish they never feared us. On the planet Valora Prime, a panicked Chancellor Vaylor addressed his generals. They are attacking our gates, our supply routes, find their base. A nervous aide whispered, but sir, what if they're already among us, using our own systems? Just then, the main holoscreen flickered. The calm, amused face of Captain Elias Ward appeared. Hello, Chancellor, he said. You're looking for us? Don't bother. We're already inside. Before anyone could react, the lights in the entire Council chamber died. Every ship orbiting Valora Prime lost power. For 15 seconds, the heart of the Galactic Council was plunged into darkness and chaos. Then the human's voice returned, a chilling whisper in the dark. This was a warning. Next time it won't be a blackout, it'll be fire. The signal vanished. Find them! Vaylor screamed, but he already knew. The humans were no longer the hunted, they were the hunters. When the Shadow Fleet returned to Titan, cheers echoed through the hangars. For the first time in years, hope surged through human hearts. Rhea looked at Elias. They'll strike back hard. I know, he said, a cold smile touching his lips as he stared into the star-dusted void. That's exactly what we want. Let them come. Because when they do, we'll show them what true war looks like. The darkness outside flickered with distant explosions, the first sparks of a galactic firestorm. Humanity had become the shadow in the stars, and soon, the galaxy would face the storm it had created. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the shadows. The Shadow War was over. Now the real one was about to begin. The Galactic Council had finally found us. Or so they thought. A massive armada of over 5,000 alien ships swarmed into the Sol system, appearing from all directions, led by High Chancellor Vaylor himself. He wanted to make a statement, to destroy humanity's home and crush our rebellion in one single brutal strike. Burn them all, Vaylor ordered coldly. Make Earth a warning to every race that dares defy the Council. The alien fleet advanced, a metal storm filling the darkness between Mars and Earth, blotting out the stars. But we were ready. Deep beneath the icy surface of Europa, Captain Elias Ward stood inside a vast control chamber. Around him, hundreds of officers worked silently, their faces glowing in the blue light of their consoles. At the center of the room, a massive hologram of the Sol defense grid pulsed with dozens of red enemy markers. Commander Rhea Tanaka entered, her armor scratched and battle-worn. They're coming in fast, full formation, weapons hot. Elias didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on the map. They think we're cornered. They don't understand yet. Rhea frowned. Understand what? He allowed himself a faint smile. That this is exactly where we want them. Outside, the alien fleet opened fire. Beams of plasma tore through the void, slamming into the asteroid belt, painting the darkness red and white. Alien generals laughed as our defense satellites shattered one by one. Human defenses are weak, one sneered. Their fleet is gone. But then, their scanners flickered and died. The entire front line lost power for 3 seconds, just long enough for something to appear. At first, it looked like a shadow. Then it moved. From behind Saturn's rings, a ship emerged. It was enormous, larger than any battleship the Council had ever seen. Its dark surface pulsed with glowing blue lines, and the space around it shimmered with static energy. It was the Leviathan. Elias's voice echoed through every human comm channel. "This is Captain Ward. The Leviathan is online." In that moment, every human heart in the system seemed to beat faster. The alien admirals could only stare in disbelief. "What is that?" one whispered. Then the Leviathan's weapons came alive. A single beam, pure, bright, and silent, lanced across space and tore through the Council's lead battleship. It didn't explode. It simply vanished, its atoms scattered into the void. Then came the next beam, and the next. The sky became fire. Hundreds of alien ships were annihilated in seconds. The Leviathan's power core roared like thunder across the stars. Every weapon humanity had secretly built now spoke with one voice: revenge. On the bridge of her ship, the eclipsed dawn, Rhea grinned. They wanted a war. Now they have it. Elias watched the battle unfold on the main screen. "Deploy the Shadow Fleet. Formation Alpha 7. Target their flagships." "Roger that," came the replies from dozens of pilots. From the darkness behind Jupiter, smaller, faster human ships appeared. Destroyers, cruisers, fighters, swarming like hornets around the alien armada. They moved with impossible speed and precision, striking weak points before vanishing again into the void. The Council fleet began to fracture. Vaylor's voice cracked through his command ship's comms. "Hold the line! Overwhelm them with numbers!" But numbers meant nothing now. Humanity had learned to fight against impossible odds. Every pilot, every marine, every engineer fought not for orders but for vengeance. On Earth, billions watched flashes of light dance above the atmosphere. Children clung to their parents, elders prayed, and soldiers readied defense bunkers, all waiting, all hoping. Then a message appeared on every screen on the planet. "This is Captain Elias Ward. Humanity stands unbroken. The enemy is at our gates, but today, we make history. Today, Earth fights back." The cheer that followed was so loud it could almost be heard in space. Back in orbit, the battle reached its peak. The Leviathan powered up its main cannon again, targeting Vaylor's flagship. The Chancellor's voice trembled. "Retreat! Pull back now." But it was too late. The beam struck, slicing through his flagship like a blade through paper. The explosion lit up the void, a silent sun of fire. The Council fleet scattered, retreating in utter panic. Rhea watched the chaos unfold. "They're running." Elias nodded. "Let them. They'll carry our message home." "What message?" she asked. He looked at her, his eyes filled with cold determination, that the age of the Council is over. Hours later, silence returned to the Sol system. Wrecks of alien ships drifted like broken stars. The Leviathan hovered above Earth, its blue lights glowing like a guardian spirit. Rhea stood beside Elias on the bridge. "We won the first clash," she said softly. "But they'll be back." Elias's voice was calm. "Good. Let them come. We're not fighting to survive anymore. We're fighting to end this." He looked out at the stars, his reflection mixing with the light of Earth below. "They tried to erase us. Instead, they made us stronger. The galaxy will remember this day." He turned away, giving the final order of the night. "Prepare the next phase. Humanity moves beyond defense. It's time to take the war to them." Outside, the Leviathan's engines flared once more, cutting through the darkness. Humanity had won the first clash. The rebellion had become a crusade. The battle for Earth was over, but for the rest of the galaxy it was only just beginning. News of the alien council's defeat spread faster than light. On distant, far-flung worlds, citizens whispered in hushed, fearful tones. The humans had survived. They had won. And worse, they were coming. In the cold, silent orbit above our world, the super-dreadnought Leviathan floated like a silent, avenging god. Its massive hull still glowed faintly from the heat of a desperate battle. Below, Earth's cities, once on the brink of annihilation, now burned with the light of victory and a defiant new hope. Humanity had stared into the abyss of space and proven that even against the stars we would not bow. Captain Elias Ward stood at the front viewport of his flagship, the Eclipse Dawn, his hands clasped behind his back. Victory brought him no joy, only a grim sense of purpose. "They'll regroup," he said quietly. "We have a short window before the Council strikes again." Commander Ria Tanaka, his second in command, nodded, her expression just as stern. "Then we use that window. We hit them before they can even think about rebuilding." Elias turned to her, a flicker of cold fire in his eyes. "Exactly. The Council believes they still control the galaxy. It's time we showed them just how wrong they are." Hours later, the leaders of humanity's fleet gathered in a secret meeting aboard the Leviathan. Holograms of every human commander flickered around a central strategy table. The air was thick with tension. Elias spoke first, his voice cutting through the silence. "We can't wait for them to attack. We take the fight to their territory, fast, hard, and loud." He gestured to the holographic map of the galaxy, pointing to a bright cluster of stars. "This," he said, "is the Dranak sector. It's the main energy supply for half the Council's fleets. If we take it, their armies will freeze in the dark." Ria leaned over the map. "It's one of their most heavily defended sectors, 20 stations, thousands of ships. And that," Elias countered, "is precisely why they'll never expect us to go there. We hit them fast, we destroy their reactors, and we vanish before they can even process what happened." The commanders looked at each other, a collective understanding passing between them. Humanity was no longer defending. We were hunting. 3 days later, the Shadow Fleet emerged at the edge of the Dranak sector. Ahead, the stars glowed with an eerie red light, reflected from the enormous energy stations that powered an empire. Inside the command room of the Eclipse Dawn, Elias gave a calm, chilling order. "Activate silent mode. All ships, follow Formation Delta." In an instant, the fleet vanished into the darkness. Moments later, they were directly above the first station, Outpost 7X. No alarms, no defenses. Just silent, towering structures filled with unsuspecting Council workers. "Fire," Elias said. Human torpedoes sliced through the vacuum of space. The first explosion lit up the station like a newborn sun. Within minutes, half of the Dranak power grid was a cascade of fire and ruin. Council patrols rushed to the scene, but they were far too late. From her display, Ria watched the flames bloom. "That's 3 stations down. We move to the next." But before she could finish, a piercing alarm blared across the bridge. "Multiple enemy fleets inbound," the radar officer shouted. "Thousands of ships." Elias didn't flinch. "They're early. Good. Let's test their courage." The void erupted into chaos. The human fleet, outnumbered 10-1, twisted and weaved between fire and wreckage. We were faster, smarter, and filled with a burning rage they could never comprehend. The Leviathan charged its main cannon, unleashing a beam that carved through enemy ranks, turning entire squadrons into superheated dust. Our smaller ships darted through the mayhem, striking weak points and vanishing before enemy scanners could lock on. In the heart of the battle, Ria's ship took a heavy hit. "Shields failing," her pilot yelled as sparks showered the bridge. Elias's voice crackled over the comms. "Ria, fall back, that's an order." "Negative," she roared back. "We hold this line until the Leviathan is ready to fire again." Her ship spun around, guns blazing, taking down 2 Council cruisers before her shields collapsed completely. Just then, the Leviathan's main cannon fired, a colossal wave of blue energy that washed over the entire battlefield. Every alien ship caught in its path simply vanished into silence. When the light faded, the space around them was clear. The Dranak sector was gone. The Council's energy grid was shattered. The story exploded across the galaxy. Whispers turned to fear. Fear turned into panic. On countless worlds, alien systems began to question the Council's absolute power. "They destroyed the Dranak reactors," one alien shouted in a crowded marketplace. "With just a handful of ships? Impossible," another scoffed. A third voice replied quietly, "No, that's humans." Rebellion began to smolder. Species that had once served the Council now saw a new hope, a symbol of defiance in the dark. Back in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, High Chancellor Vaylor slammed his claws on the table. "They are not a rebellion anymore," he growled. "They are an infection." One of his advisors hesitated. Then, "We must use the Purifier Protocol." Vaylor's eyes widened. "You mean?" "Yes," the advisor confirmed. "If we cannot control them, we will erase their entire system." The Chancellor's voice dropped to a cold whisper. "Prepare the Purifier. We end humanity once and for all." Aboard the Leviathan, Elias received the intelligence report. "They're preparing something big," Rhea said grimly. "A weapon called the Purifier. It can destroy entire star systems." Elias's jaw tightened. "Then we move faster." He stepped to the main viewport, staring into the endless dark. "They want to erase us. But this time we will be the ones writing history." He turned to his crew, his voice steady and sharp. "Send this message to every human colony. The fire has spread. We fight until the galaxy remembers who we are." A powerful cry echoed through the ship. "For Earth." Outside, the Leviathan's engines flared to life once more. The galaxy burned, the Council prepared for annihilation, and humanity, scarred, furious, and unyielding, moved forward like a storm that no one could ever stop. Across the vast, cold emptiness of space, the fires of rebellion had spread. But now the galaxy itself held its breath. The Galactic Council, cornered and desperate, unleashed its final terrifying weapon, a name whispered in fear across their own worlds. The Purifier. This wasn't a ship or a fleet. It was a cosmic machine, designed to ignite a star system and burn everything within it to absolute dust. It was a weapon of last resort, a tool to erase unstoppable enemies from existence. And now, the Council had pointed it directly at a small, blue world. They had chosen Earth. Aboard the flagship Leviathan, alarms blared through the command deck, a symphony of crisis. Commander Rhea Tanaka's hands flew across the main console. "Captain, it's an urgent transmission from our operatives within the Council. It's happening. The Purifier is active." Captain Elias Ward stood motionless, his hardened features reflected in the glowing screens. He asked the only question that mattered. "How long?" Rhea's voice was strained. 36 hours. They're charging it near the Helion Rift. Once it fires, the entire Sol system will be annihilated." A chilling silence fell over the bridge. For the first time in countless battles, the cold grip of genuine fear tightened around the crew. Elias finally turned, his expression unreadable. "Send the order to all fleets. We move immediately." Rhea's eyes widened in disbelief. "Captain, that's suicide. Their defensive line at the rift is impenetrable." Elias's voice was as steady as steel. "Then we will break it. Humanity has stared into the abyss of extinction before. We will face it again, but it will be on our terms." The Shadow Fleet cut through the void like ghosts in the night. Dozens of ships, sleek and deadly, trailed the Leviathan as it tore through the fabric of space at unimaginable speeds. On the bridge, Rhea triple-checked the coordinates. "The Purifier's reactor is shielded inside a black hole field, Captain. We can't make a direct jump." Elias simply nodded. "Then we go the hard way." The hours that followed were a grueling gauntlet. The human fleet navigated lethal radiation storms, dodged pulverizing meteor fields, and outsmarted enemy traps. They lost 2 destroyers, their crews vanishing into silent, fiery tombs. But not a single ship turned back. When they finally breached the Helion Rift, the sight that greeted them was both magnificent and monstrous. A colossal station floated in the heart of a swirling crimson storm, with arcs of pure energy dancing around it like celestial lightning. Rhea whispered the name, her voice filled with awe and dread. "The Purifier. It's real." Hundreds of Council warships formed a cage of fire around the station, their lights a glittering web of death. Elias studied the tactical display. "They've built their wall strong. Good, that means they're terrified. He opened a channel to the entire fleet, his voice resonating through every ship. "Listen to me," he began. "We are outnumbered, we are outgunned, but we are not, and will never be, out of will." He paused, his eyes burning with cold resolve. "They want to erase us from history. They want the name of humanity to be nothing but a forgotten whisper. But I promise you all, if we are to burn today, we will burn so brightly that the entire galaxy will remember our light for eternity." A roar of defiance answered him from every corner of the fleet. For Earth! The first wave of the Council's fleet crashed against them. Human ships darted forward, executing impossible maneuvers, dodging plasma fire and breaking enemy formations. The Leviathan's main cannon roared, carving a path through the chaos. Explosions bloomed like violent flowers across the rift. The human fleet was a single spear, aimed directly at the heart of the storm. Inside the Leviathan, every console screamed a warning. "Shields at 40%. Engine core temperature critical. Enemy squadrons closing fast," Rhea yelled over the din. "We can't hold this position much longer." Elias slammed his fist on the console. "Then we don't hold. We push." The Leviathan surged forward, smashing through wreckage, its destination clear, the purifier station itself. It was a final desperate gamble. As they neared their target, a calm, cold voice cut through the comms. It was High Chancellor Vaylor himself. "Humans," he sneered. "You should have stayed broken. You may destroy fleets, but you cannot stop the will of the Council." Elias replied without a trace of fear. "Your will ends today." Vaylor's laugh was chilling. "You think you can destroy the purifier? Its core is impenetrable. You will die long before you reach it." A faint, almost sorrowful smile touched Elias's lips. "That's fine. We've died before." He turned to Rhea. "Get the crew to the escape pods. Now." Rhea froze, her mind refusing to process the order. "Wait, Captain, you're not—" He looked at her, his voice suddenly quiet but firm. "The Leviathan S reactor can trigger a cascade failure in the Purifier S core if we ram it. It's the only way." Tears welled in Rhea's eyes. "No, there has to be another way." "There isn't," Elias said softly. "You're the best commander I've ever known. You will lead them after I'm gone." Defeated, she offered a sharp, tear-streaked salute. "Yes, Captain." The Leviathan, trailing smoke and fire, broke through the last line of defense. Deep within its hull, the reactor core began to glow, its light growing from a hum to a blinding crescendo. From the viewport of her escape pod, Rhea watched the magnificent ship dive headlong into the heart of the Purifier. "Goodbye, Captain," she whispered. Elias sat in his command chair, a strange calm settling over him as the alarms wailed their final song. He looked out at the endless expanse of stars one last time. "For Earth?" he said quietly. Then the Leviathan struck. A silent, blinding white light consumed everything. The explosion tore the purifier station apart, the shockwave expanding outward, swallowing enemy fleets and turning the entire sector into a silent, stellar graveyard. When the light finally faded, nothing remained but drifting metal and the quiet, watchful stars. Hours later, the surviving human ships regrouped. The purifier was gone. The Council's ultimate weapon was destroyed, but so was the Leviathan and its captain. Rhea stood on the bridge of her new command ship, staring at the empty space where her mentor had made his final stand. Her voice trembled. "He did it. He saved us all." A young officer beside her asked softly, "Commander, what do we do now?" Rhea straightened her shoulders. Her eyes were red, but her voice was pure steel. "We fight on," she declared, "for Captain Ward, for Earth, and for every life the Council tried to erase." She turned her gaze back to the starfield. They wanted to end humanity. Instead, they just gave us a legend. And among the stars, new fires began to flicker, the defiant light of a people who, the battle was over. The Helian Rift, once a storm of fire and thunder, now drifted in quiet darkness. Wreckage of shattered warships floated like dead stars, the echoes of war finally fading into an immense silence. The Leviathan was gone, but its sacrifice had changed everything. The weapon known as the Purifier was destroyed, and with it, the Galactic Council's iron grip began to crumble. Worlds that once cowered in fear now saw the truth, that even the mighty could fall before the sheer force of human courage. Humanity had not only survived, it had won. Aboard the human flagship, the Erebus, Commander Ria Tanaka stood before a flickering holomap of the galaxy. Lines of red representing Council control zones were slowly turning blue as planet after planet rose in rebellion. "Report," she said, her voice a low hum in the quiet command deck. Lieutenant Mason's voice was sharp with excitement. "Over 40 systems have declared independence, Commander. The Council fleets are in full retreat. Their command network is gone." Ria nodded slowly, her eyes fixed on the map. "And the other human colonies?" she asked. "Contact has been restored with Mars, Titan, and the Luna bases. They're rebuilding. Earth's atmosphere is stable. The Purifier never reached it." For a moment, a profound silence filled the room. Everyone looked at the stars outside the viewport. For the first time in generations, those stars looked free, Ria whispered, her voice full of awe. "He did it. Captain Ward really did it." Far away on the Council's capital world of Seraphis Prime, chaos reigned. The great halls, once gleaming with gold and power, were now filled with shouting delegates, terrified leaders, and panicking soldiers. The High Chancellor Vaylor sat broken on his throne, watching holograms of his destroyed fleets flicker and die. "They are humans," one alien senator shrieked. "How could they defeat the Purifier?" Vaylor's voice was hollow, stripped of all its former authority, because they fought like they had nothing left to lose. He looked out at the distant, uncaring stars. "We forgot why we created this council. We thought we could control everything. But humanity, they reminded us what fear feels like." Around him, the council began to dissolve as ancient races turned on each other, old alliances shattering like glass. Without their ultimate weapon, their empire was finished. Weeks later, a transmission spread across every surviving colony and liberated world, a message from Earth. It was Commander Ria Tanaka, now wearing the insignia of Fleet Admiral. "People of the galaxy," she said, her voice calm but firm, resonating with newfound authority. For centuries, humanity was treated as lesser, as laborers, soldiers, and slaves to an empire that promised peace through absolute power. But we have shown that no power can break the human spirit. Her words echoed across the stars. "The Council betrayed us. They tried to burn our home, and yet here we stand. Not in anger, but in purpose. Humanity does not seek revenge. We seek balance, justice, and freedom for all." Her speech spread far beyond human borders. Even alien worlds listened in silence. For the first time, the galaxy heard not the voice of fear, but of leadership. In the months that followed, the United Human Federation was born, not as conquerors, but as protectors. They began rebuilding shattered colonies, sending aid even to those worlds that had once fought against them. One day, Ria stood on the balcony of the new orbital city floating high above Earth. Below her, the blue planet shone brighter than ever before. A young cadet approached. "Admiral, we've received a request from the Draven worlds. They want to join the Federation." Ria smiled softly. "Even the Draven, after everything they did?" The cadet nodded. "They said they finally understand what humans fight for." She turned her gaze to the stars. "Then welcome them. This time, we build a future worth sharing." Later that night, Ria walked into the Leviathan Memorial Hall, a quiet chamber filled with the holographic names of the fallen. In the center stood a statue of Captain Elias Ward, carved in silver light, holding a broken sword pointed toward the sky. She stood before it, speaking softly as if to an old friend. "They'll never forget you, Captain. You gave us more than victory. You gave us a reason to believe again." As she turned to leave, a faint shimmer in the air caught her eye. The old ship's AI core flickered one last time, replaying Ward's final message. If humanity must burn, let it be a fire that lights the path forward. Rhea smiled. It did, Captain. It did. As months turned to years, the scars of war began to heal. New starships were built, not for destruction, but for exploration. Human and alien scientists worked side by side, rebuilding the galaxy together. And on a clear morning high above Earth, the first peace armada launched from orbit, a fleet carrying diplomats, explorers, and dreamers into the vast unknown. Children on the surface looked up as the ships ascended through the clouds, their engines glowing like new suns. "Mom," one of them asked, "where are they going?" His mother smiled. "To make sure no one ever tries to destroy us again." Far beyond, at the edge of the galaxy, a signal pulsed from the ruins of the Helion Rift. Faint, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Scientists dismissed it as mere static, but those who had fought in the war, they knew better. It was the Leviathan, still out there, still watching. And in that endless night, the legend of humanity's defiance became the foundation of a new dawn. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. For decades, the galaxy healed from the scars of a war that nearly tore it apart. The United Human Federation, once a struggling alliance, became a beacon of hope and strength. Peace, it seemed, was finally here to stay. But history has a funny way of repeating itself, and out in the silent abyss of deep space, a ghost was about to wake up. It all started with a signal, a faint, repeating pulse almost lost in the cosmic static. It wasn't a distress call, not a message in any known code. It was just one word, over and over again. Leviathan. Aboard the Federation research ship Aurora, Captain Lina Ward, daughter of the legendary war hero Elias Ward, stared at the holographic display. The signal was a phantom repeating every 13 hours. Her chief scientist, Dr. Rin Malik, looked deeply troubled. "It's not a natural phenomenon, Captain," he said, his brow furrowed. "The waveform structure. It's human. Or at least, it used to be." Lina's gaze sharpened. "Used to be?" Rin nodded grimly. "The encryption matches old Leviathan codes, but it's been interwoven with alien data. Something's merged with it." A chill ran down Lina's spine as she whispered, "My father's ship was destroyed, wasn't it?" Rin's silence was answer enough. After days of tense debate, the Federation Council granted Lina permission to investigate. The Aurora jumped into the deep void, a region of space beyond any known star chart, toward the lingering scar of the Helion Rift. When they arrived, a hush fell over the bridge. Before them stretched a sea of roiling black energy, the remnants of the rift, with lightning arcing through it like the veins of a dead god. "There!" Rin shouted, pointing at his scanner. A massive power signature coming from the rift's core. Lina's heart hammered against her ribs. "Take us in." As they ventured deeper, a shadow began to resolve itself from the swirling darkness. It was impossibly huge, silent, and ancient. It was the Leviathan. Its hull, once pristine, was now a fractured mosaic of metal and strange, glowing vines of energy. Alien technology seemed to have fused into its very structure, pulsing with an unnatural life. "It's alive," Rin whispered in awe. "The ship, it's regenerating." Lina stood frozen, unable to process what she was seeing. That ship was atomized in the explosion. How can it be here? Before anyone could offer a theory, the bridge lights flickered and died, plunging them into emergency lighting. A voice crackled through the comms, distorted, a chilling blend of man and machine. "This is the Leviathan. Identify yourself." Lina's breath caught in her throat. "This is Captain Lina Ward, daughter of Elias Ward." A long silence followed, then a broken, haunting whisper echoed back. "Elias Ward lives." The Aurora docked with the ghost ship. Inside, the corridors were eerily quiet, lit by the flickering blue glow of strange symbols on the walls. Lina led her team forward, her hand hovering over her sidearm. "Stay close," she ordered. "No sudden moves." They finally reached the command chamber. There, seated in the old captain's chair, was a figure. A man aged beyond his years, his skin marked with metallic scars, his eyes glowing with a faint blue light. He turned his head slowly. "Father," Lina whispered, her voice trembling. Elias Ward offered a weak, sad smile. "I told you. I'd watch over humanity." Rin gasped. "Impossible. You should be dead." Ward shook his head. "The explosion didn't destroy the Leviathan. It changed it. The alien energy merged with the ship's AI, and I became part of it." He looked at his daughter, his eyes filled with a mixture of pride and profound sorrow. "I've seen what lies beyond this galaxy, Lina, and it's coming." "What's coming?" she asked, dread creeping into her voice. Ward's expression hardened. "Something the old council feared long before our own wars. The real reason they built their superweapons. A power older than our galaxy. Something that consumes entire civilizations." Rin frowned. "Like a hostile species?" Ward shook his head. "Not life as we know it. Something else. They are the Devourer of Suns." He continued, his voice low and urgent. "It feeds on stars, on life, on all energy. And it's awake. You must warn the Federation, Lina. They are not ready." Suddenly, the ship trembled violently. "The rift is destabilizing," Rin shouted. "We have to go." Ward rose from his chair. "No, I can control it, for now. The Leviathan is the only thing strong enough to stop the Devourer's entry." Lina rushed forward. "You can't stay here alone again." He smiled gently. "I already have, my daughter. It's what I was made for." The ship's systems flared to life, a symphony of light and power responding to his will. "Tell humanity," he said, his voice now one with the ship's hum. "This is not the end. It's the test of what comes after victory." As the docking clamps broke, Lina was pulled back to the Aurora. Through the viewport, she watched the Leviathan, her father's ship, her father's tomb, vanish behind a curtain of collapsing light. Back on Earth, her broadcast went out to every corner of the Federation. "This is Captain Lina Ward. We found the Leviathan. My father lives. He's holding back something far beyond our understanding. Prepare the fleets, the stars are not safe." Her words sent a shockwave through the galaxy. Old alliances were rekindled, fleets were mobilized, and far, far away, in the infinite darkness, a star flickered, and then went out. At the edge of the void, the Leviathan stood its lonely watch, a titan guarding the gate. Elias Ward, now one with his ship, whispered into the eternal dark. "Let them come. Humanity is ready now." The ship's lights flared once more, brighter than a sun, a final promise before fading into the night.